Q&Asa. Game on Daily. Q&Asa. Game on Daily. Q&Asa. Game on Daily.
Welcome. Oh, that's a horrible fuzz. Welcome to the world of Q&Asa, where past, present, and future gaming, they all converge, they come together, hosted on the Gaming Arcadia YouTube channel. And we have a nice time most weeks, I think. How is everybody doing today? This show is sponsored by, brought to you by no one. It's just us. It's just us doing the show like we always do. I forgot to join Discord. Oops. And it's a nice conversational show, which you're all familiar with by now, hopefully, maybe. No, that's not true. Hopefully, not everyone's familiar with it. Hopefully, we're getting masses of new people every time, and you've got no idea how this show works. So, I'm going to run through it. We talk. That's the main thing. Back and forth. You talk to me, you talk to each other, and we just have conversations about games and whatever the topics may be and all the rest of it. If that's not good enough for you, you can throw money at the screen, or I don't really understand how super chats work. I think you literally pick up your card, throw it at the screen, and yell a message. You can do that, and the super chat will come through, and I'll read that out. Entirely optional. You don't need to. New t-shirt. No, this was a Christmas present t-shirt. I've had it for ages, worn it many times. We've also got Discord. If you happen to be a member of the Gaming Arcadia Discord, well done. If you're not, you're missing out. But if you are on there, even if only temporarily, you can stick yourself in a waiting room to pop on the show and have a little chat. But again, you don't need to. You can just relax. There's also, somewhere along the lines, there'll be a YouTube Q&A box. You can stick whatever you want in there. It can be a question. It can be anything else. At the end of the show, we go through all of those one by one. Background is teardown. It's almost Joe. Almost. Episode 13. Joe knows exactly what the background is. He's just having a little prod, a little dig. He could have said teardown for children and really stirred the pot, but he didn't. Yes, the background is Minecraft. How's it going, Kratos? What am I doing? I'm such a clown. Such a clown. Kiddie teardown. There you go. Tom's on it. Tom wants to smoke. Tony, it started the stream and you had Metallica Fuel on my sound, and Blur went well with it. Thank you. I try. That was my inspiration. Yeah, so the Q&A box is available now. You can use it. We always start every week with a little cry. No, we don't. We start talking about games. Tell me what you've been playing this week. I've been playing games. But I want to know what you've been playing. Let's get your games in first. Nobody played anything. The partner program today, so Rachie, the partner program today felt like a PlayStation state of play. Yes, that direct boom, boom, boom format, game. That's not too bad. Alvin, you've been playing The Last Epoch. Tell me if it's brilliant. Replicant, I know you've also been on The Last Epoch, but you've put up Banishers there. Banishers for the week. Chronic, you finished Control. You got further on it than me, so Banishers is on my to-do list. Like, I really would very much like to get on that, but I haven't. Very much would like to get on that, but I haven't, because I haven't finished Vampire yet, and I feel like I should finish Vampire first, and I don't know when I'm going to finish Vampire. Chronic, you've been on Control, and it's been awesome. That's another one I got halfway through, maybe. Very approximate estimate. I got halfway through. I got to the Mage of an Ashtray, or whatever it's called. Infamous maze that everyone knows about. Ran around through some shifting walls. Didn't appear to have any way through the maze. Didn't know what I was doing. Gave up. But I want to play it again just because I like the powers and the level of destruction through the levels. I like, as soon as you get the telekinetic powers, I was just like, oh, there's bookshelves. I'm going to break every single thing in this entire universe. And I spent a long time smashing up offices and libraries and whatever else you visit. So, do mean to go back and finish that one. I'm not necessarily interested in the whole like Remedy Connected Universe, Alan Wake games and all of that kind of stuff, but Control I want to go through. And Replicant, tell me why you've gone back to World of Warcraft. I know that it's your like vice and you go back to it on a fairly like semi-regular basis, but you had got off of it for a little while to play other things. What has pulled you back in at this point in time? FTW, you're on the Final Fantasy VII Remake, so not Rebirth, you're going through part 1 to get there. And Joe, still just Infinite Wealth, 35 hours in. Are you trying to get to the end of it, or are you doing the Animal Crossing mini games and stuff like that? Magnum, Lost Planet 3. What has drawn you to Lost Planet 3? Is this have you been playing with like Nvidia's fancy RTX tools or something, or did you just fancy playing Lost Planet 3? Isla, you've played Pokemon. Pete is hammering Peggle, trying to beat Darge's scores. Pete, I'm afraid I'm coming for you. All of this stuff that you're doing, it's all in vain. I'm gonna knock you off of every single high score because I'm just spiteful like that and extremely talented. Isla, you've nearly finished Pokemon. How many hours would you say you put into that by now? Or how many hours would your Switch tell you that you put into that, right? It counts them up quite neatly. Kratos, 125 hours. Is that how long it took you to get to your level 34? So, Kratos played with us a couple of days ago. Who did we do that with? It was with Radders, with Eradication. We played some Helldivers too. And he carried us through a mission. No, it wasn't Radders, was it? Kratos came after Eradication left. It was Alex. You carried me and Alex through. And you had all of the items that have been nerfed today, right? You had the shield backpack thing, and you had the fancy shotgun and probably the railgun, I don't know. But Helldivers has had an update that includes fire tornadoes and meteor storms. And as everybody knows, I love weather in games, and a firestorm and a meteor shower, those count as extreme weathers. So I actually do want to get back onto Helldivers just to experience those, just to run into a fiery tornado and say that I've done that. Just to enjoy the atmosphere of like burning in the extreme weather. Don't try the Ashtray Mage until it's on your mission. Yeah, that was definitely my mistake then, Gronic. There definitely wasn't anything telling me to go there. But there also wasn't anything telling me it's not worth going there. It welcomed me into its shifting, stupid corridor bastards. Alvin, so far it's great. You're only 24 hours into Last Epoch. It's deeper than Diablo 4, but not mind-breaking like Path of Exile. And you're not at the end game yet. See, I don't, when I play the action RPGs like that, including Diablo, but anything else as well, I don't actually care for endgame. I know a lot of people specifically obsess over what you can do in endgame and how well structured the meta is. I prefer the journey myself. I'm quite happy to play it more casually from start to finish, build the character the way that I want, and not overly worry about min-maxing and trying to do the grind content that comes post-game. But that's just me. I know most people, like, action RPGs kind of live or die by the end game, even though I personally kind of ignore it. Episode 13, you're on Halo right now. Replicant, the ray tracing on Control for PC, have you modded it or are you using the baseline one? There was a user mod that was covered by Digital Foundry a few months ago that like drastically increased the number of surfaces that the ray tracing applied to and the available properties. It was already, from what I remember of Control on the PC, the ray tracing was already a nice standard in terms of the diffused surfaces having it and things like that. But apparently quite a bit better with this user mod. So something to look at. I'm definitely going to look at it if I play again. Yeah. So Halo right now. I need to scroll more. It's not automatic scrolling for me. So Replicant, you got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and you've only played an hour. How have you found the adjustment to 30, or are you doing the blurry mode? FTW just bought Helldivers 2 and DD 2, as in Dragon's Dogma 2, I'm assuming. So you're going to have to wait for that one. Did you buy that digitally? That's probably going to be like a 3-week download for you in your remote ruins that you call home. Ollie, you need to brush your hair. That's a big sigh. Do it. You can do it. Magnum, your Game Pass ran out, so you're going through your backlog. That's fair enough. Like, games from that era can be compelling. I can't actually remember if I've done Lost Planet 3 or not. I only remember the first one and the orange blobs on the snow. I'm sure I've played more than one of them, but I don't know if I did the third one or not. Kratos, you were also hooked on Peggle 1 and 2. Do you, see, the problem with the Peggle 2 thing that's going through the community at the moment is it's very much driven by the high score tables on it, which I think everyone is doing through the Xbox accounts at the moment. An old game, so I doubt it's doing the whole cross-platform thing for high scores. High scores can be like a very cheap and easy way to make a game super engaging in the right like context and design. They can just, if you've got that competitive edge and you just see somebody else's score on there and decide you're having that, then suddenly you can lose a lot of hours. Not me, obviously I'm like exceptionally talented and I just take the high score as soon as I want it and move on. But for other people, I can imagine it's quite draining. Racey, anyone ready for Unicorn Overlord on Game Pass? Is it 2 days? I absolutely want to play that, but I'm not playing it in 2 days' time. It can wait. I definitely want Unicorn Overlord. Just it's very different. I didn't actually know it was on Game Pass, but yeah, that's where I'll play it then. Save some money. Have you got the mini nuke yet, Replicant? Not me. I am not very good at doing my upgrades. So, Jay, you spent a lot of time on the Dondoko Island. That's the Animal Crossing bit, right? Because of that, you basically have infinite wealth, which is making the rest of the game a piece of piss. Hence the name, Infinite Wealth. You have conquered it. I'm falling behind. Hold on. Joe, great game, despite too many cutscenes. That's Infinite Wealth. So that series has many lengthy cutscenes all the way through though, right? Or at least from my limited exposure to it. The Switch says you have 150 hours or more in Pokemon Violet, 1,890 in Minecraft for the Switch, and 3,545 hours in Animal Crossing. That is more than I have played in the last decade combined across all platforms. So you win. Replicant's probably got you beaten, but apart from that, you win the gaming crown. Chronic, you've been troubleshooting and throwing chairs and pictures. Oh no, you've been not troubleshooting, different issue. Around the maze you were throwing your chairs and pictures. Dragon's Dogma 2 being 30 frames per second on Xbox means you're not playing it. Oh, Magnum, don't do it. You have to play it. You'll adjust to the 30 probably. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but... Did you see the Dames for Games show? Female Dev show? I didn't rate you. What, where was that hosted and what kind of content did they have? Tom, you're getting into bed already. No, you're not. Who? What? No, I'm not going to ask you with. I don't know what's going on. Tom, get back to the kitchen. Cook yourself something nice. I don't know this Tom that goes to bed at 10. I know the Tom that is preparing food at this hour. Flush, how's it going? Peggle to you. What? Xbox Peggle to you? What are you talking about episode 13? That doesn't make sense. But I will. I'm sure I've already got you on the friends list for all the Forza and stuff. So yeah, I'll ruin your scores as well. Magnus again, you collected. This is Lost Planet 3. You collected it, didn't even know you had it until you went through all of your digital games that you own. Yeah. Picked up that. Well, I hope you're enjoying it. Right, I need to... Trials HD was known for being a good high score game. Yeah, Neon White is a good high score game as well. I wanted Rollerdrome to be a good high score game because some people here played that and recommended it, but it didn't quite click. Didn't quite click for me, that one. Obviously, I beat everyone's high scores, no problem, but... Evening Quicksilver, how's it going? What have you been playing? Flush 90 hours on Ghost of Tsushima. Are you going to play it again on the PC? I got about 50 hours into Ghost of Tsushima on the PlayStation 5. And then it said Act 2, and I just had a tantrum and stopped playing it. Is this pre-recorded? 9 lives? It's not. I'm just a little bit behind. I'm trying to keep up. This is a conversation, so it wouldn't work pre-recorded at all. You are here, live, talking. Dard, you've worked your charm onto Tom. What are the early nights? I missed the super chat. Who said a super chat thing? Hold on. I don't want to be rude. So, Raichi. No, I read that. I just didn't take it to be a super chat. Raichi, thank you for that. And no, I haven't seen it. So, you tell me what was in it through normal means, not through throwing your credit card at the screen or whatever. Oli Oli was a good high school game. I really didn't like Oli Oli. Oh, assuming Oli Oli was the same as the Oli Oli world, right? It must have been, because the name is the clue. I thought I would like that a lot more than I did, because I'd seen people really highly recommend it. Super Stardust HD, yeah, Geometry Wars and all of that kind of stuff. Kratos, you could barely make it through the tutorial on Rollerdrome. My problem with Rollerdrome, it was Tom that suggested that I play it. And it's like nice and it's stylish and it feels like it should be good, but you can't face plant. And the first thing that I wanted to do on that game was make the character fall face first into the concrete, because it makes me laugh. And you can't. Whatever, no matter how badly you play, the character will like keep their balance, recover, and keep skating or whatever. And that made it feel more artificial when I was doing things correctly in it. It's a weird criticism, but I wanted to faceplant. And because I couldn't, it didn't quite gel as a tricky game. You could do stuff, you could have your moments where you'd go into your like bullet time, doing a stunt in midair and shooting stuff in the face. But if I wanted to deliberately end that sequence by faceplanting into the concrete, the character would just recover themselves. So, I like faceplanting, I like the Abbey splat. Plus, you probably won't replay it on PC. You're guessing it'll take at least 100 hours to finish it and it'll be done. You haven't played a Sony released a PC after you've beat it on the PlayStation 4 or 5. Have I done any? Have I doubled up on any of them so far? Don't think I have. They're quite long usually, the games that go across. I'm tempted to double up on Returnal and give that a try, but I haven't yet. And Tony's had so many troubles with Returnal on the PC that it's made me less tempted. But Ghost of Tsushima is unfinished, so it's possible. Yeah, let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima because it's a minor topic, right? It won't take very long, so I'll splice that in here before going back to the games. I want to find the trailer for the PC release, which didn't have much. YouTube, wrong screen. Ghost of Tsushima PC. Here comes the PC features trailer, which, saying nothing about the game itself, the features trailer was slightly underwhelming, I think. Ghost of Tsushima is a relatively old game. Wait a minute. Rollerdrome is the same devs as Oli Oli. Can you faceplant in Oli Oli? I can't remember. I don't hate the devs. I didn't actually know it was the same people. Ghost of Tsushima hasn't got very good stealth. It has a decent enough open world, but with some real issues with chasing foxes and cutting bamboo and doing all kind of like proper dog shit content. So when I did my playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima, I made a very deliberate point of not engaging with that shite. So if a fox was there like trying to lick my palm or whatever to get me to go and do some poetry on a hillside, I would ignore it and just engage with the proper content, the meaty content, the storytelling content. So the core campaign and also the marked like this is a story content quests from the map. I just did those and it still took me a good 40 or 50 hours to get through like the fortress that marks the end of chapter 1. But the game hadn't up to that point particularly punctuated itself with chapters. Maybe it does one right at the start that I'd just forgotten, but after 40 odd hours of not seeing a chapter marker, I didn't know there were going to be more. And then it said, oh, chapter 2, and I died inside a little bit. Like, that's too long for me. I didn't want to play it for that long. But that's a me problem. Was enjoying the game besides that. Now I may go back to the PC, but the PC version has the PC, like the essential features that upset PC players if you don't do them. So it has the ultra wide. That's the main one that PC players get upset about, and it has various upscaling things, DLSS and FSR and XeSS, Intel's one as well. It's got all of those going on, but it doesn't mention any actual improvements to visuals within the game. And Ghost of Tsushima is quite an old game, so even when they upgraded it to the PlayStation 5, there were some fairly spotty textures around. It's a gorgeous game, like perfect use of color throughout. But it would have been nice if it was getting a lick of paint, as we've had to wait so long for it. Nonetheless, I haven't finished it, so there's a fair chance that I'll double dip. Is it worth it? Should I just play it on the PlayStation 5? I'm not in a hurry. Not in a hurry. Stealth is for cowards and wankers. Give you Oni of Tsushima, where Jin Sakai is stupid like log and fight everything with honor. That will be way funny to change the story. Yes, I would definitely prefer it that way. And it is the proper bad The proper bad kind of PlayStation stealth that I don't enjoy. The hide in the grass and throw pebbles. Nonsense stealth. Clip that. What are we clipping? Replicant, you found all of the foxes and you're going to double dip. You're going to play it again. I couldn't with the foxes. I'm not a fan of the Ubisoft formula of games in general. And when they put arbitrary tasks all over, like checklist collections, I begrudgingly did most of them on Spider-Man, finding the backpacks in the first one or the little spider bots in the second one or whatever else. But it frustrated me that those things existed in the way that they do. I think my general perception of them is they're fine. They can exist. They're good for the people that want to sink extra time into a game. I don't hate that they're there. I just don't want to do them for my own sake. So I skipped them. Alvin, it's Nixus, so it'll be a solid port. Tsushima and Bloodborne are the only Sony games that you'll double dip on. Fair enough. I do expect it to be a solid port. I just hope they'd pretty it up a tiny bit more. Brotato, episode 13, what are you talking about? There's no Brotato here. Oh. Episode 13, you like stealth? No, I'm afraid it's established fact that stealth is for cowards and wankers. So, which is it? Episode 13, are you a coward or a wanker? People buying Ghost of Tsushima need to touch grass. Tsushima's grass, native 4K, yes indeed. Hide in it, Raichi. Just a little crouch and you'll be completely invisible. You have yet to play Miles Morales and you didn't buy Spider-Man 2 as of yet. You done 50 hours to finish off the first one and didn't play the DLC. Is that because you didn't enjoy it, Flush? Or were you devastated by the ending? Both, says Darge. Uh-oh. Oh no, episode 13 said both. Replicant, thank you for the 7-month membership. And that's worth pointing out that's optional because Replicant's a founding badger who has the benefits forever and yet has decided to support anyway. So thank you, Replicant, much appreciated. Said the full slate. I generally mute everyone that yells that on Twitter. Because I'm in favour of all the games coming to PC, and I'm not having to dig at you, Replicant, this is all fine, but usually when people say that, it's Xbox fans just trying to antagonise fellow console warriors. So I see lots of people yelling it, I'm just like, yeah, I want that, but I don't want that conversation around it. So, yeah, nonetheless, Replicant's a good guy, so it's acceptable. You think you mentioned the full slate on Twitter twice today? Yeah, but you like the little bit of antagonizing the Twitter people, don't you? You enjoy that back and forth. I steer clear of it. Aqua Scrotum, Dodge is announcing himself. He's a gold badge. Thank you, Dodge. Thank you, Dodge. Aqua Scrotum is a reference to yesterday's show, the Arcadia Roundtable. If you haven't seen that, those are hopefully worth watching as well. Speaking as someone that is on it and running it. Maybe I'm not one to speak, but hopefully they're enjoyable and you should try and watch it. Gravity Rush 1 and 2 on PC, please. I would like that. There's been rumours of a Gravity Rush 2 remaster coming to PS5 and PC. No word on the first one, but Gravity Rush will be a strange one to bring back at this point in time. All the more reason to do it. What does full slate mean? Episode 13. Oh, you're so sweet and innocent. Because episode 13 is our most notorious super fan of Xbox. But he doesn't particularly engage in the console war side of it, so that means he is gleefully naive to the full slate thing. Is usually Xbox fans trying to wind up PlayStation fans, but specifically the kind of PlayStation fans that are upset that other people get to play their games. So it's the group that are protective of their exclusives, and it's just poking them, saying, they're not going to be exclusive anymore in your face. It's a battle cry of sorts, episode 13. It's an antagonistic phrase to upset people that deserve to be upset. Basically. Joe, go on, Don, Scroat, get 'em. Yeah, we do need to do that, Skull and Bones, and that is going to be your nickname the whole time we play it. Joshua H, how's it going? What have you been playing? So I didn't get onto what I've been playing, and it's kind of I should have smoothly brought in the Ghost of Tsushima conversation, because I have been playing now episode 13. So best value in gaming is a hollow shield phrase from people that are paid to promote Xbox, which is bad in its own right, but the full slate thing is specifically to antagonize the other side. Best value in gaming is Rocket League. Doesn't cost anything and you can play it forever. It's the perfect game. Come at me with any maths to refute it. Yeah. PS Plus is the best value in gaming if you want to count out the value of games on a subscription service. But we don't do, like... I'm quite happy for the phrasing to be slightly different, like best subscription service, whatever else. But best value in gaming is so overbroad and silly. Hyperbolic nonsense. It never comes out of the mouths of people that you should be listening to. That's not true. Like, because it permeated like minds and ears so far and wide, it does come out of some reasonable people's mouths as well. But then you have to reprimand them and help them improve. Oh, do cowards and wankers outnumber noisy knobbers? Nah, Pete, we're not doing noisy knobbers. We're doing something entirely complimentary for the people that are brave like me. And Pete, 8-month member and frequent gifter of memberships as well, so always appreciated. Thank you. It doesn't have to be cowards or wankers, Joe. It can be both. You're right. Episode 13 quickly claimed both titles, so that's fine. I have no problem with that. Essential was great value before the price increase. So, Ghost of Tsushima, chasing foxes, all of that bullshit. This week, I've spent quite a bit of time playing, what's it called? Chadley's Ubisoft Adventure, also known as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but you get to a point very quickly in the game where you recognize it is Chadley's Ubisoft Adventure. Chadley is a character in Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth who's supposed to be a cyborg and basically exists as like a taskmaster, structure-giving entity. And in Remake, it was not too irksome. In Rebirth, he's full on Ubisoft mode. So once you encounter this character, you get the proper Ubisoft, like, please go to all the towers around the map to unlock the other activities around the map and do all of the activities to put this zone into 100% completion and collect this and collect that and go here and go there. And it's very much like Final Fantasy VII Ubisoft Edition now, which should, by rights, thoroughly irritate me. And when it first happened, it didn't particularly irritate me because I was so enamored with the world that I was running around that I was like, oh, you know what? I want to go to these places. I don't mind the Ubisoft formula in short doses. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna get on with it. Then I played it more, and it did start to wear thin. And I reminded myself that there's a reason I don't like this formula. So I started to be like, I have to do this because it's a Final Fantasy VII game, and Final Fantasy is one of the series, not the only one, but one of the series that kind of ingrained that got to go everywhere behavior that so many people have when they play games. Because old Japanese RPGs, they would have these maps that had these very minor branches in the paths. And if ever you accidentally went on the correct path, you double back and go on the one that you know is not correct because it always had a treasure chest or something to find. It ingrained that behavior, that explore every nook and cranny thing, came for me from Japanese RPGs, including Final Fantasy VII, but I can't drop it for Remake and Rebirth. I have to do everything in those games. So on Ghost of Tsushima, I was a grown-up, and I was like, I don't like cutting bamboo, I don't like chasing foxes to do poems, so I'm going to ignore that content and do the stuff that I do enjoy. But on Final Fantasy VII, I have to do it all because that's what that series is. So I'm running around doing all this Ubisoft stuff, going, yeah, I'm gonna swallow this, I'm gonna enjoy it. and then it started to wear thin and I stopped enjoying it. And then I got to Quetzalcoatl, the big lightning bird. This isn't like a spoiler, he's not a story thing, he's just a creature in the world to fight. And the Final Fantasy VII battle thing came in a little bit heavier than usual, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to do everything in this game just for bits like this. So it's not all love this time around with this game. But you see a yellow bird in Ghosts at like an hour 90, and you're like, oh fuck's sake, you gotta follow it like a dummy. So this one, Final Fantasy directly copies that from Ghost of Tsushima. It literally has birds that you have to follow for one of its activities. If you see a bird making a silly noise, you have to follow it to get to a certain thing. If you see rabbits, then you have to do a stupid chocobo mini game. If you see, it's got lots of the same kind of tails and follow things, as well as all of its map markers everywhere. Yeah, and Replicant, how am I finding the 30 frames per second? When I first got into the Grasslands open world part, I found it really painful on the eyes. Like, not physically painful, but it was unpleasant. You've also got... there's a lot of, like, detail popping in that game when you're walking around in the world as well. So there were a lot of flaws to the 30 frames per second presentation. When I play it now, I've found the presentation makes a lot more sense when you're able to move faster. So the popping becomes like less noticeable, weirdly enough. And I'm fairly used to the panning of the camera. So I'm doing all right, but as soon as I go and play a smooth game and go back to it, I imagine I'll need to spend a bit of time adjusting again. For that reason though, like, you can adjust. So Magnum, when you were saying that you're going to avoid Dragon's Dogma on console because of the frame rate issues, like, it's probably worth trying to adjust for, because that game looks phenomenal. Chronic, good thing it's not co-op, Dave Mack says. No, Dave Mack always kills Tony's dog. Rabbits and birds wouldn't stand a chance. There's a lot of stuff that you can't kill. Replicant, you think the panning would be better in 30 frames if it had motion blur? It's a crime that it doesn't. I'm not massively snobbish against 30 frames per second in that kind of game. I think it's fine in Spider-Man, which handles 30 frames per second nicely in most circumstances. Some games, like first-person games, it's more nasty, but motion blur makes a big difference at 30. I'm one of these people that would typically want to remove most blur if you've got a smooth frame rate and don't need it. But if you haven't got that nice frame rate, then it does compensate in a good way, like it should be there. So. I played the 40 frames per second mode in Spidey and it worked well. I don't have a nice TV, unfortunately, so no 40 mode for me. Uncapped 30 seems an odd choice. For Dragon's Dogma, yeah, uncapping that 30 is an odd choice. I'm all for, like, if it detects a TV that's got a generous refresh range, then by all means uncap it and let the frame rate do what it wants. But in most circumstances, yeah, weird choice from Capcom. Not sure what they're doing there. Apparently it has bad frame pacing. Yeah, it would do, really, if they're uncapping it. But hopefully they'll provide options or get vocal enough feedback to make it smooth. Motion blur helps ghosting a lot on cheap displays. It can. Yeah, I mean, it makes everything blurry, so the ghosting is still there, it's just less pronounced, I guess. So, what have we got? That's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm still very thoroughly enjoying it. I'm 12 hours in, and I really like... there's so many systems of progression in play at once. It could be that once I've got like 70, 80 hours into it, some of these are going to feel like arbitrary tag-along things that just naturally progress as the game goes forwards. Or it could be that some of them get forgotten and are completely meaningless. But right now, pretty much every system in there I'm quite actively engaged with. Constantly like doing stuff in the world and then spending various points, checking the materia that's leveled up, checking what weapons are doing what, checking who's learnt what skills and what I can swap around and all that kind of stuff. to make it a proper RPG with just a lot to play with and a lot to grind if you want to. It's also got freaking Moogles in and they suck, but good game. Combat is also so if you liked the combat in Remake, then obviously you'll like the combat in Rebirth. But the difficulty of it has been quite interesting because a lot of it is overly trivial to the degree that you don't really get much exposure to the in-depth mechanics. When you get into a fight that lasts long enough to test you, there's a lot going on and it does get fairly tense. Does have some moments that will put you through your paces and kill you if you're not paying attention, so I'm enjoying it a lot. What else? That's it. I think that's it. So we've had Ghost of Tsushima come to PC and we've been talking about games. Your stupid wig is pretty brushed out. Good. Flush, maybe you'll play Final Fantasy VII Part 1 on PC next when you're done with Ghost. The PC version of it is said to have quite a lot of stutter every time you go into a new area. That's very difficult to combat, which is why I never got Remake on the PC so far. 7 will benefit from the PS5 Pro, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And obviously, hopefully a PC version that doesn't stutter too much as well. But I don't know how bad it is, Flush, because whenever there's a performance issue or a stutter or anything like that, some people blow it out of proportion. But it could be that it is really irritating, or it could be that it stutters a couple of times literally when you enter a new area and represents like 0.2% of the time that you're actually playing the game. I don't know. Dragon's Dogma 2 with the uncapped frame rate. Yeah, potentially. I mean, depends what the PlayStation 5 Pro is. If it's like the 4 Pro, then that wouldn't necessarily help it a huge deal. But Racy, you've been playing on your old 1070 Ti lately. What are you doing, Microsoft? Where are the good games for your console? What have you been playing on the PC then that you couldn't on console? FTW, you had to put Final Fantasy VII Remake in DirectX 11 and it's way better that way. It is way better that way, except you lose HDR completely. I seem to recall that was the compromise anyway. On a lot of games, the DirectX 11 thing takes away your ray tracing and stuff, but on Final Fantasy VII, it just didn't support HDR in DX11, at least around launch. So depends how important that is to you. On PC, a lot of people aren't playing in HDR anyway. So you do own it on the PlayStation 5 too, so you could switch if it's a game breaker. I'd be curious if you do try it, Flash. I would be curious to know what kind of feedback you've got. Isla. Oh, I thought you said you're a villager. You see a villager telling you said hi. They can hear you. They can hear you. You don't use HDR anyway. Okay, in that case, a simple decision for you. Oh, it's raining. Good. Good. Read your other. You said, next time I use this background, can you make a matching desk? I was furious that you didn't make a matching desk the first time. So yes. Yes, you can. I wasn't. Obviously, I wasn't furious. We must have used this before I started putting desks on. You built your little lad an underground zoo and aquarium in Minecraft. Playing it on PC with creator mode is fun. I do still intend to put up a server for it with so Minecraft supports mods now, and assuming those work with realms as well. I want to put up something weird, because the original survival game is probably still a good survival game, although Enshrouded does look really cool as well, and Power does its own thing nicely too. Lots of games to play. I don't know what I'm doing. So there was the Xbox Partner Showcase is the main thing to talk about today. Should we go on to that? Isla, you don't know anything about Bedrock Mods Online, so it only came in like a week or two ago. Really recent. I'm not going to put the whole thing on. It's half an hour and I don't want to do half an hour of it. It's going to be a short Q&Asa today. Just so you know. But we'll go through some of the highlights of it. Who remembers waiting the dark on old Minecraft? That's not changed, has it? I will remember everything that's ever happened in Minecraft. But yeah, Bedrock has official curated mods now that I assume do work with Realms Online. I need to look into it. But the idea of them being curated is that they'll remain certified and working as the game progresses and gets upgrades and updates and all that stuff. Never played it, Replicant. I couldn't recommend it or not recommend it. I'm not for or against it at the moment. It looks like it looks. And you do have a lot of flexibility and freedom to piss around with it. And it did kind of pioneer like survival games that are so popular now. So it has some stuff going for it. And it has hollow. What's the word for something that's entirely practical and has no soul? There's a good word for it and I can't quite bring it to mind right now. But everything around it is like functional. Because that's just how it was made. Yeah. Anyway, Xbox partner thing. I'm going to find it first before talking about it. Xbox. Entirely practical but has no soul. Microsoft. Well, they're not entirely practical, but yeah, it's definitely not. Corporate isn't the vibe I'm going for Minecraft. It's far from that. Obviously, it's owned by Microsoft and has its corporate hooks in it now, but from its inception, it was like made for functionality, you know. And there is a word, and I just can't. German. No, not German, Joe. Minecraft doesn't have a soul. Like it looks the way that it does because everything had to take an absolute minimum amount of memory. Utilitarian, yeah, maybe Flush. That's a good one. Well, it was a good one. Partner preview. I'm looking at it, and we're going to go through some of the trailers. So it started with Unknown 9 Awakening. Some of these trailers had accompanying Xbox Wire articles that would expand on what the games are. So my knowledge is going to be weak because I had to go out right after this thing and I've not seen the accompanying articles. So maybe you'll have some things you can throw in there. But the first one that they showed was this. I've already forgotten the name. Unknown 9. I actually thought it was a reasonably strong start to the event. Character looks interesting. It's a magic based game with lots of weird powers. I think I was more interested in the start of the trailer than I was as it progresses along. So as it progresses along, shortly after this point, it starts getting into mind control and cheesy stealth puzzles, which looked less engaging than telekinetic powers and shit like that. Replicating you first like the first two trailers, yeah, and this looks pretty good. So then you started to get bored. It wasn't trying to think of what I thought of the showcase overall, because I was just in a bad mood, so I didn't like take the most from it. But that's not necessarily the showcase's fault. I'm trying to think if there was a lull in the quality of the games or not, or if they were all super interesting. I mean, it definitely dipped when it went into Roblox, didn't it? Freaking Roblox. I think that was a debut. FTW is why you never heard of it. I think it was revealed today for the first time. Sleight of Hand looked interesting. I'll do that one next. So that was Unknown 9 Awakening from Bandai Namco, and I can't remember what studio. Next up, Sleight of Hand. It's the problem with Sleight of Hand's trailer is that it's very much a trailer. It's entirely like conceptual CGI trailer doesn't show you anything about how the game is going to play. But the concept is nice. You're a witch that has cards containing all your spells. So it's hard to say. Like, obviously this could end up being a stealth game that I hate as well. The trailer could be implying that. There's a lot of stealth in here. Lucky cards, exactly, episode 13. But I imagine, like, you'd have to think that the gameplay is going to play out with this deck of cards. Hopefully, like, freedom of movement. But all of your actions are going to be based on what cards you have available and so forth. Could be really good, could be for cowards and wankers. It's hard to say for sure. Yes, very much just the concept at the moment. But it's coming to Game Pass, so I'll get to be a coward or a wanker if it is a stealth game. Let's skip to the last trailer after that, because I'm going to try and just pick the bigger ones, and there were some reasonable ones in there, but for the sake of making sure we get to it, the last one is presumably supposed to be a big one, as it's the show closer, but it was a bit of a weird one. It's the one that we knew about, and I've forgotten the name. Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. You all watched this. What did you think of it? Chronic, it relies on RNG for the cards. If it relies on RNG for the cards, then you're fucked. You're fucked anyway, because whatever situation you're presented with, whatever cards you've got in your hand, you're going to press the button and your controller's not going to be connected. So it doesn't matter how lucky you are with the RNG, your Xbox controller's not going to work. That's just the way it goes. Can't help it. And then some belt will explode on your car again. This looks like a tower defense RTS game, so they mentioned it as a hybrid action RTS game rather than tower defense per se, but it could be tower defense. It has a quite... I don't know what to make of the art style, because it's obviously gone for stylistic, but doesn't appear to have landed on any particular style. It's not very crisp, and I don't know if that's just because of the trailer. It might be that in person it's crisp and vibrant and captures the kind of Okami vibe that it seems to be going for. In trailer form, it kind of looks like mashed potato shaped into something more culturally relevant. So it's hard to tell. There's lots of weird feather dusters and oddities in the gameplay. Yeah, go on, hit them with your feather duster. I don't know how that's supposed to purge defilement, but it does. Everything's kind of like warpy and weird, and it might turn out that this game actually is visually nice, but it's not in the trailer. I don't know. Saying that, it does go into this kind of RTS village building. I don't know if it's tower defense or if it plays out like I don't know, a Cult of the Lamb kind of thing, where you have sections of the game where you're building. Then it gets to nighttime and you go out fighting. The original trailer had Onimusha vibes, yes. And then what it actually is not similar. Do you get what I mean though? Like, this game might end up looking nice if like the detailing on these things is actually really crisp and clear when it comes down to it. But this looks like mashed potato, and I don't know. I don't want it to look like mashed potato. I can't tell if it's like a lot of it is dark, and YouTube is not good with compression in dark areas. It's like it's a difficult thing to make it display it well. So all of the backgrounds are becoming a weird mush blur. And the fine detail on the creatures and stuff, it looks like they probably have it, but it just doesn't come through. It also has, like, a lot of the ground has a deliberate swirly effect on it, which is probably something that will make sense mechanically when you play the game. I don't know what to make of it. It might end up being brilliant. I like that it exists because it is clearly nothing like any mainstream games. And it's nice to see that Capcom are willing to do something like this. It could end up being great, I don't know. And Capcom, they announced, or it was announced today, that they've increased salary for all of their staff. So all of their starting positions have gone up 25%, and their existing staff have all got pay rises and cash bonuses as well. How nice is that against a backdrop of what's happening everywhere else in the world? They presumably didn't have to do that. Share their success with their staff. They didn't have to do that, but Mario Sunshine Tower wait a minute, Flush. What is Mario Sunshine Tower Defense a thing? Brutal Truths. I'm not trying to. What did I hurt? Oh, Chronic, I see. Yeah. Tom, I'll be telling you, an International Women's Day event isn't the right place for you to be at 9 AM tomorrow next. No, of course it is. Why wouldn't you be? As long as you're behaving yourself and there respectfully. 9 AM is pretty early. I'd rather you got there at like 11. Oh, so Raichi asked earlier. There was a Day of the Devs Women's Edition or something. I can't remember what it was called, but a specific event I didn't see anything of. Was that related to International Women's Day and they just got the day wrong? Games for Games. That's what it was called. You're just combining the Feather Duster with base defense, boss battles on top makes it quite a mix. I'm not going to lie, like the fact that it's so obscure and I don't understand it makes it more enticing than an awful lot of games in the show. It looked like blurry mashed potato that didn't know what it was doing. And yeah, I'm really curious about it. Any new VR games that I'm playing soon? I've got quite a lot of old VR games that I need to get through, Alex. I don't know what's coming in the near future. I don't think there's a lot on the horizon. The Blade and Sorcery proper roguelike update should be sometime soon. It was supposed to be the tail end of last year. So that'll be a big deal to me when it comes out because Blade and Sorcery is freaking awesome. I still want to play Bulletstorm. Wasn't supposed to be a good port, but I still want to play it. I want to play Borderlands 2, Half-Life Alyx, Legendary Tales. Loads of stuff. Loads of stuff, but I don't know what's coming. Chronic, you still want to jump into Dungeons of Eternity at some point? Yes, please, Chronic. Tony's got that as well. I don't know who else has got it. That seemed a good laugh. I do. It's really difficult. I need to get on those as soon as possible. I just have bitten off too much in terms of games to play, and VR does not deserve to be relegated below the other ones. So it's more because I tie so much of my gaming into streaming and things like that. VR is a lot harder to stream than pancake games. So for that reason, it doesn't get the attention it deserves, but I want to. It's easier for me if we do, so Dungeons of Eternity is a Quest native game, and Quest native's multiplayer setup is actually really good in terms of being able to get like into voice chat and join each other in games and just play. It works really well, but it's not streamable. Whereas PC VR, I can stream, I can monitor chat, I can talk on Discord and all of these kind of things. So nothing should start until 11 AM exactly, Chronic. And I'm not going to get Dungeons of Eternity going at like 6 AM, don't you worry about that. Flush, getting on Game Pass will be proper. Try something that takes chances. Yeah, and I have to. Make me try it when it comes out, even if it gets like 4 out of 10 in the review. So, let's have a look at another one. First Berserker. That's what it's prompting me to show you right now. So I'm going to. I don't think this is actually based on the manga that I thought it was. Do things really start until 11? Can't think of any objective truths before that hour. No. Alex, how long am I in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? I assume you mean. 12 hours. Did the frame rate not look iffy? It's looking iffy right now. The whole game, like the biggest strength of this game that I can see is that everything sounds really weighty in it. Probably excessively so, but every hit is like thunk, properly like heavy. And it seems to fairly clearly have a, like its Souls gameplay has a big emphasis on parrying from the looks of things. Just the one thing that wasn't necessarily as satisfying like in the audio. I'm not sure I'm on board with the art style on this one either. I'm not sure that the characters quite fit the backgrounds. Like they don't quite fit the backgrounds, but they're also not. They're not vibrant enough. They don't contrast enough for that to feel deliberate. It feels like they accidentally don't fit the backgrounds. I like spraying blood on the snow though. Do I think the Dragon's Dogma 2 will run smooth at 30 frames per second with open FPS? Not if they keep it open, no, it's going to be awkward in that sense. Still be worth playing, I think, but... Plush, not sure on that one, need to know more. What kind of questions do you have though? Because the trailer was fairly self-explanatory on what the game is. Outside of, like, story, really. I guess we don't know how it progresses in terms of like level up systems and things like that. They're not out of place but don't quite fit. Yeah, not out of place in like you can have a stylistic like very much contrasted against the background like excessive example, but something like the Sin City movies where everything was black and white apart from the flecks of red that are very deliberately like, look at this. These characters don't look like they're deliberately made to contrast with the background. They just also don't quite fit it either. And I'm not sure like what to make of that. And it's again, it's like a weird criticism. It's not a fair criticism. It's not something that makes sense. I don't know. It's just a day where I'm looking at things negatively, I suppose. Is it a Souls game? There was one magic-looking ranged thing briefly, just full frontal sword play. Looked cool, but no storyline. Almost like watching a fighter with Souls parrying. It definitely looked like a Souls game, but maybe more along the lines of Sekiro without the build diversity. Kratos, what did you miss? Damn phone calls. I don't know. I don't know what you missed. It was probably brilliant though. Don't go back and find out. Let's pick another trailer from... Let's do Sinking City 2. I'm told that I didn't like the first Sinking City. Tony told me that I didn't like the first Sinking City. I don't remember. I didn't like the trailer for this one because it looked like, I mean, these look like AI Murlocs. Draw me a realistic Murloc AI. What would they look like in real life? And then it goes through like a random mishmash of disconnected horror sequences before I realized what the game was. And then it all started to make sense when it was like a Cthulhu madness vibe. First game was interesting, but was it good, FTW? Represent you have a soft spot for Frogwares as you like Sherlock Holmes and their games of him. So this particular one, the Sinking City, they had publisher trouble. I think they recently managed to acquire the rights to the Sinking City first game just in time to announce the second one. No, I know you didn't say good FTW, but I'm checking like if you think it is good, because interesting doesn't mean bad either. The first one had like the detective sequences, didn't it? I think the world seemed quite interesting, but I never got far enough to figure anything out. Can't remember why though. Tony might remember why I stopped playing. He'll probably make up something. You only got halfway through. I got nowhere near as far as halfway through. I did like the opening hour or two. There was like a fish guy, someone who had like no mouth. That's all I can remember. So Sinking City 2 doesn't immediately get on my radar, but might be quite interesting. The Altars has weather. Let's bring that up. It has weather and a whole load of guys called Yan. Starts off looking like a Death Stranding ripoff, but it's very much not a Death Stranding ripoff. It's entirely a different kind of game. Tom, this looks well cool. No idea how it'll play though. Oh, Sinking City. If it's Lovecraftian, we'll for sure give it a go. Did you play the first one, Tom? Because the first one was like a detective game. I can't remember if it was like first or third person, but I remember running around some docks around a load of dead fish and just talking to people and looking for clues. The Altars looks great. It looks interesting and weird. I like the concept. So it starts off showing you the guy exploring the alien world with Death Stranding vibes, carrying a backpack, but a big core part of the game is this weird tire station. You have to one man manage this station, but not actually one man manage this station. As you progress through the game, you get some kind of material that lets you clone yourself, but not literally yourself. You clone versions of yourself, or you pull them in from parallel timelines, versions of yourself that made different decisions at some point during your lifetime. So you end up, the fella in it is called Yan, or Yans, I can't remember, Yan. And you pull in other versions of Yan if he had lived his life differently. And it turns out most of the decisions that he makes seem to impact his hairstyle and occasionally, like, how he talks. And then you have to manage their relationship with each other and set them all to work on the station and try to survive from there. Which is, again, trying something weird, right? Very different. It looks like it might be really good, but the concept is strange. It's Yan. They're all Yan. And every now and again, wait. Show me the Yans. Oh, it's going to do it in a second. Look at this. This guy, this Yan on the left, the fourth one down. Don't know what decision he made, but at some point in his life, he decided to be a psycho. It's just like, constantly in his profile picture. He's my favourite Yan already. Strange. You're going to check it out? Oh, the detective game, good. I'm not sure he gets a choice replicant. Just pulling alternate versions of himself from different timelines. There's the psycho one. That was a better view of it. Bring him back. Bring him back. I'm having that. Well, what decision led him to be that angry constantly? To take a profile pic with that expression on his face. The top one's just like a sad guy. He's obviously made mistakes. And he's just constantly sad. Constantly crazy. That's a vibe. Anyway, what else was there? Did anybody else see anything in the Xbox Insider, whatever it was, not Insider, Xbox Partner Preview showcase that caught their attention? There was the Roblox Chucky thing. We're avoiding that because that looked wank. Stalker has caught a lot of people's attention, and rightly so. Not going to show you that trailer, but the Stalker trilogy. I didn't actually know there were 3 Stalker games up to this point. It's a little bit strange when Stalker 2 is coming out soon, but there were 3 games prior. And they were PC only and fairly niche, but very, very highly regarded. Big cult following for them. Coming to console for the first time. So you can play them. I've changed my mind. I am going to put that trailer on. And they look kind of old. Monster Jam? No, episode 13. You can look at this and you can see exactly how they've arrived at Stalker 2's aesthetic. Monster Jam was good. No one's going to play Monster Jam. You got Forza Horizon if you want to drive around. Monster Jam looks okay. No one's going to play it. Tom, you're going to remember to mention how great that would be in the morning. To show the importance of women. As in at your Women's Day event, you're going to mention the Yans. I did ask episode 13. Are you planning to buy the Monster Truck game? Stalker is out now, by the way. I think this one that we're watching. I don't think it's on Game Pass. It's available to buy. What do you mean, no? Can't tell me you're interested and then say you're not buying it. You don't actually care. You have to buy it now. You've made a commitment. You haven't. It's fine. Why would it be like monster trucks are not monster trucks? Monster trucks are not stealthy. Episode 13. They're plenty cool. Alex, no, Dragon's Dogma will do whatever you want on PC. Monster Truck game? Yeah, it did need more mayhem. It did. It had a couple of jumps and some fireworks, but yeah, more stuff needed smashing. The general concept of driving on dirt is like... Forza's already nailed it, right, in Horizon. So... it needs... What was that PlayStation one? Excuse me. What was the PlayStation muddy game? From the Evolution Studios devs, the Drive Club devs. Devs. Motorstorm, thank you, Replicant. I'd like to see a Motorstorm game. Because driving in dirt is fun. And yeah, Forza Snow and Dirt, absolutely. So, that was that. I'm very lazily just going through trailers at the moment. I want to see the Frostpunk one for my own sake. I haven't played the first Frostpunk and I've only heard good things about it. Eradication, they've said on the community page that they're listening to feedback on controller support for the PC. What, for Stalker? You mean they've re-released Stalker on PC without it? Wreckfest is a good shout, Pete. Wreckfest is a good dirt driving game. Decent dirt racer with properly designed tracks would be amazing. That game wasn't it, yeah. I think I'd probably really enjoy Frostpunk. If only I could just sit and play all of the games. Replicant, you've played everything. Have you played the first Frostpunk? Someone here must have played through it. Alex, Resident Evil 4 is $30 on the PlayStation Store. That is a good price. I can't remember if I've already got that or not. Oh, you never played it? Oh, it's just not your kind of thing. The Falconeer Bulwark game looks really good for building kind of content from Thomas Sala, and that's been well received by the people that have played it. I'd quite like to give that a go as well. I'd quite like to give everything a go. So you played a few hours of Frostpunk. You think that I'd like it? It's not quite for you though. That's nice. Tony and Alex and people like that, they always say that I won't like things by default. But I like most things. Replicant, you like the developer. He comes across well and is a bit of a character. Thomas Salah, yeah. He's definitely... he's got his opinions, hasn't he? That he holds strongly. And he seems a really nice guy as well. So I don't always agree with everything that he says, but... nothing but respect for the stances that he takes. So... and he is a nice guy. So I would like to play... would like to play the Bulwark one. The Falconeer game that he did before was quite neat. It doesn't put its best foot forwards, which he said as well, because he kind of designed the game chronologically. Like, he works on the first levels first, and then as he progressed, he got much better at making the levels interesting. So the start of the game is not his strongest point, and the more you get into it, the more refined he was with his creative process. So the levels get better and better as you go through the game, which is probably quite normal for like indie projects, literally like one-man team kind of deals, where they make the game sequentially in that way, just because it's an easy way to keep track of your own project. But that was presumably he learned from that, and Bulwark was not made by like in the same way. And I really enjoy his art style of not using textures anywhere, but still making everything look absolutely gorgeous through the use of color and light. So his games are very, very performant, but very, very good looking. Hats off to him for creating his own game universe. Absolutely, yeah. And his own, like, everything about that has his stamp on it. It's very uniquely his. Like, he's looked around at other games on the market and said, whatever, I'm doing my own thing, my own way. I don't care what's established convention. I want this. And he's gone and made it. So good for him. I'm going to play it as soon as I can. But that wasn't at the partner showcase. I think I've probably done enough partner showcase today. There were a few other bits and pieces in it, but those were the main ones, I think, because I said this would be a shorter show, and I'm not going to hit that much shorter because, you know, time just goes by. But let's see if we've got any questions. We'll do those next. Isla, if you are available, please could you put up the first question? Yeah, she's not about. Quick, someone distract me. Oh, she is. It's done. Kratos, if hell was a video game, which game would be hell to play? Question also goes to chat. So, which game would be your personal hell? The answer is easy for me. 12 minutes. We're braiding wire into your wig. Sorry, you can carry on. Oh, Flush, you liked Kenzura. So Kenzura, I like as well. I'm not sure I like it enough to play it, but I like where it comes from. I like the motivation. So the guy that's making it is making it in response to his own like personal grief when he lost his father. He wasn't a game developer at all, but he was like a gamer that enjoyed them. His father passed away. I think he was an actor, something along those lines. So in reasonable circumstance to do a thing that he wanted to do, but in response to his grief from losing his dad, he decided to make this game, and it looks... I should find the trailer. I'm going to find the trailer. It looks like it plays a lot like an Ori game. It's not visually following the same style, but it's got the same vibe to it, and it is a Metroidvania. And it is gorgeous. I've lost it. Tales of Kenzura. Put that on while we're here. So you also need to answer your personal hell as a game. Replicant Superman 64. FTW Redfall. Redfall messy. Ori is what you thought too. Yeah, I mean, actually now that I watch it this time around, it's even more Ori-like than I thought the first time. First time. Very Ori-like. It looks really accomplished though. Like, he's played a lot of Ori. He knows how to make an Ori-like game. Because it is very much an Ori-like game. It looks really good. It's just, you know, I've got my aversion to Metroidvanias. Yeah, maybe I'll give it a go. I don't know. Can't decide. Modern FIFA in multiplayer. Oh, that's not a bad shout, Tom. FIFA would be painful. 12 minutes is still my answer. 12 minutes is the only game I've ever come away from specifically disliking. I've come across games that are like, oh, I don't particularly feel that was up to standard, or they could have done this, that, or the other better, or whatever. But they normally have some redeeming qualities. But 12 minutes was just horrid. Just horrid, everything about it. Like, it was intentionally horrid in its writing, and it was accidentally horrid in its gameplay. So yeah, that would be my answer. I was so mad. Oh yes. You were so excited for me to play it. No, you weren't. Why? What an awful game. Any battle royale game, Bitlurist? Ah, you might. Do you like competitive shooters outside of battle royale though? I don't like battle royale particularly. I find it's a whole lot of running around doing nothing before a whole lot of waiting for the next game. But they do have some qualities. Alex, Skull and Bones episode 1 is live. Will I play it? Yeah. Chris Grinnell swears that it's a good game actually. And he's trying to rope Darjin as well. But yeah, we do intend to play it a bit more. Again, it's a case of finding time because that's a big time sink of a game. But I have it on a subscription service. I should play it. Joe, 12. You know, Joe, I would normally say, no, don't spoil it. We never spoil games. Yeah, this is what I'm getting at though, Joe. When I say that it was... I can't remember the word that I used, but it was deliberately horrific as well as accidentally horrific. The story, it wasn't like a clever horrific twist. It was just a what the fuck is wrong with you twist. Like, what were you thinking? How did you think this was a good story? This is... what? Bitlurist. What did I spoil? 12 minutes? I am apologetic. Like, I do absolutely never like spoiling games. In my defense, I have saved you a terrible time if you were thinking of playing that one. It is my personal hell game. Hell game. You played it with your wife and you found it hilarious. It has... I think mechanically it just wasn't good. It's obviously got like a time loop as its core mechanic. But some games handle time loops and repetition well. Like they keep it interesting. Like, time is looping and you know time's looping, but they add enough spice and variety into it to keep it interesting. But that one replays the same conversations so many times that it was maddening for me. But Replicant did like it. Isla liked 95% of it. Bitlurist has made me feel bad. I'm sorry. I've managed like years of doing this stuff without spoiling any games, and now I've spoiled one. I'm ashamed. Kratos, you're actually thinking of which game would be hell for you, but you deleted many just as fast as you played some. Yeah, most games have some redeeming qualities though. Mechanically it was interesting, but definitely not good. I can't say a good thing about that game. Bitlurist, okay, you glad that... I mean, I still feel bad. It won't happen again. I'm going to do better. But I have done you a favour if you're now going to avoid playing that. Horrible game. Horrible game. Well, that must have been Replicant Isla. He's the only person that likes that game. Replicant under a different name. Next question, please. Oh wait, it's already there. Don't do the next question. I've already got it. So FTW has asked, are you going to play Alone in the Dark in future? Or am I the only one looking forward to that game? Comes out too close to Dragon's Dogma 2, but I'll be getting it much later after release. I don't know why FTW, but I'm not expecting good things from Alone in the Dark. It's getting very little coverage, and it is coming out in the month that has Dragon's Dogma 2 and Rise of the Ronin, as well as like the PlayStation release of Hi-Fi Rush and the PC release of Horizon Forbidden West, and I think a couple of other things as well. So it's got a chance. I don't think it's got much hope of being played in March. 2 days before Dragon's Dogma 2. Why would they not move it? I don't know. I think much as I wouldn't typically like to rely on reviews and things, Alone in the Dark is going to need to review well and get some good word of mouth around it for me to remember that it exists. Otherwise it's in real danger of just slipping out completely unnoticed. I don't have any particular affinity with the originals or anything like that. You had it on the Amiga, yeah. Games for Game Show had like 16 games. You know, I'm going to have a quick look on that while we're doing the questions, because I don't want to... Things for games. So it's a live stream. I've got it on IGN and on GameSpot and on... I don't like IGN or GameSpot particularly. Games for Games, they've got their own channel. August Showcase 2023. The Games for Games has their own channel with 18 subscribers. What? So Games for Games doesn't have their own channel. What have I stumbled into? Quick, get off. Get off of this. I don't know what's happening. That's not it. It doesn't look like they have their official channel that had the showcase from last year, but that's all it ever had, and it only has 18 subscribers. So they moved to IGN and GameSpot. It's an hour. Why? It's a 2-hour showcase. I have not done due diligence to pick out what's good or bad or worth paying attention to from this, so I cannot cover it right now because I don't know what's in it. It's too much. Too much in it. So Rati, if there's anything that stood out, then shout it out and I'll try and bring it up. But in the meantime, let's have the next question, please. FTW, you plan on getting it sometime in the future. Is that sometime in the future when the price has gone down, or sometime in the future when you've finished Dragon's Dogma 2 and such? Replicant, my observation, less Game Pass titles in the showcase. 24 months ago, the majority, if not all, would have been on Game Pass. Thoughts? Yes, Replicant. I've mentioned that before, that Microsoft have significantly backed away from it. In a showcase 2 years ago, they would have had, I think there was a showcase where they had like 33 games and 31 of them were Game Pass games. One of the ones that wasn't was like Diablo or something, because it was like, it had to be an exceptional, it had to be a big deal for a game to get into that showcase and not be on Game Pass. Everything that Microsoft were doing was Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. And at some point over the last 2 years, where they've seen that Game Pass isn't growing, they've very notably like just eased off the gas and started saying, actually, maybe we do need to focus on more traditional ways of selling games and other ways of getting new audiences. So I think generally though, because at the developer directs or whatever, not that long ago, a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, when they had, in fact, not even the developer direct, it's when they came out to respond to all the third-party rumors and they did that Xbox podcast, because they came out so bullish and definitive in their support of Game Pass going forwards, in that they are still going to put their first-party games on it, the service is still going to exist and all of that. I wouldn't say that I'm worried about it, and it's almost almost kind of inevitable that they need to spend less on third-party games now that they're spending so much on first-party games to bolster a service that hasn't grown and has in fact shrunk. So it's not surprising. It's also it's noticeable not just in the way that their event is presented and not just the way that they're focused on that event, but kind of the caliber of games going into the service. So we've had Power World is an absolute fluke, so that turned out to be a big deal. They did not pay a lot of money for Power World, I don't believe for a second. And we had Dead Island. Tales of Arise is like old but big enough. Typically though, it's definitely fallen from where it was a couple of years ago, and they do have a lot. They are ramping up first party, which will compensate for that in a big way, I hope, once they start pumping those out. You think Game Pass is going to transform into a first party predominant service? Yeah, but their first party is bloated enough that it kind of can, hopefully, right? Question is, like, if they do that but it doesn't grow, is it going to sustain their bloated first party now going forwards? We'll see. I think we'll continue to see them split their focus on actually selling things as well as pushing Game Pass going forwards. Whereas you're right, like 2-3 years ago, very much everything was push Game Pass, push Game Pass, push Game Pass. And I really sincerely think they thought people would just embrace Game Pass. They thought the audience was there for the content that they were putting on Game Pass. They thought this is genuinely a good deal. Of course, people are going to subscribe. And I think they've been very caught off guard and surprised by the fact that it hasn't grown outside of the console audience and like the core audience that were already playing those games. So I'm glad they did commit to carrying it on for us. Power World maybe lost money with Game Pass. Too much server. Yeah, probably, Rachy. I'm sure they've made enough money on Steam to recover from that, but... You don't think they got the PC numbers they expected? I don't think they got... Yeah. Like, in all areas, I don't think they got the numbers they expected. And to be fair, you can understand... Like, there wasn't an established subscription service to base their estimates off of. And you can kind of understand why they'd think it would be more popular than it is. But... Because I think most people expected it to do really well. The Microsoft Store's still stuck on PC. Microsoft Store still kind of sucks on PC, yes. For their lack of marketing, they're lucky they have 34 million. I don't think their marketing is as bad as people like to call it out as being. I think people just don't want to subscribe to Game Pass, and that marketing would just be mostly pissing money away. I don't think their marketing has been that light on it. But... I mean, just having £1 trials for as long as they did is pretty heavy marketing. Giving it away in so many circumstances is quite heavy marketing. But without must-have games, they can't get people to subscribe. The difficulty, Chronic, is even with must-have games, people don't necessarily want to subscribe. You can stick a Starfield on there, which, like, for all its flaws, was a big deal of a game. And it didn't get loads of people subscribing. Because people just, if they wanted to play Starfield, they bought Starfield. So. You haven't seen any marketing yourself, but Flush, you're not, like, you shouldn't necessarily see marketing. You're not the target for it. You're already subscribing. You already know what it is. How they market outside of that, I don't know. I've had, like, numerous free trials come my way, or, you know, they have all of these deals where if you're not already a subscriber, then you can get like 3 months, 6 months or whatever for a tiny price. They've tried to push it in a lot of places. It isn't necessarily the same as like sticking an advert on during the Super Bowl or in the middle of a TV show. But that's not necessarily a good way to market it either. So, Put the janitor in charge of marketing. The stocks of Microsoft would skyrocket. Maybe. Maybe. Your 3-year stack Game Pass just ran out and you've got no desire to renew. What's going to change your mind, Magnum? Are you going to renew for like Call of Duty or Diablo or like any of Microsoft's Avowed, that kind of thing? Or are you just not playing that many games in general? Because Game Pass makes a lot less sense for people that get a game like Final Fantasy VII and stick 100 hours into it. It's a tricky one. Let's have the next question, but not because Alex is whining. Alex, you don't get to do that. You're just going to get a month when something interests me. A lot of people, like, that's a sensible way to deal with Game Pass, really, and any subscription service. Actually get it with a focused intent to play through some content, play through it, and then stop subscribing, play something else somewhere else for a bit, and come back. Gaming with Passion, how's it going? Chronic, they need those 90+ score games to get people's attention. Hi-Fi was a small niche title. Starfield was full of letdowns, grand promises, and Redfall was Redfall. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens when they get... I reckon Call of Duty scoring in the 70s this year, but it's still a big name. We'll see what the likes of Avowed do, but... I don't know. Like I say on Game Pass, for so long as it's good for me, I'll keep subscribing, and if it's not, then I'll stop. And I don't particularly want it to be the entire future of gaming anyway, so I'm happy with where it is at the moment. Not wishing for any more success or failure, just keep it where it is, keep giving me games on it. That's a nice, safe, stable place to be. What's better, Days Gone or Dragon's Dogma 1? You need to decide what to play next. Dragon's Dogma 1, Chronic. I don't like Days Gone. Dragon's Dogma is like rough, but Days Gone, the core characters are irritating. So Days Gone is a much more modern game than the first Dragon's Dogma though. It's much more recent, and you'll be able to make it look very pretty on your PC. You might hate Dragon's Dogma. This might end up being a terrible recommendation, like that time that I recommended you get the wireless adapter for your PC. Forza Motorsport, October 2023, Hellblade 2, May 24, 8 months without a first-party game. Far cry from a game each quarter. Yeah, but they've got so many studios that they can't keep missing that target, can they, Rachie? They've got to get there. You're right, though. That is a big gap. Dragon's Dogma shows its age, but it got super cheap. And you loved Days Gone. Maybe I should give Days Gone another go, but I found John St. Deacon, or whatever he's called, St. Deacon St. John, and his bulldog friend, the biker guys, were just so like, I don't want you to survive as characters. Like, I don't want you to win. So I didn't play it for very long at all. Plus, they're called the zombies Freakers. You don't need to come up with like a completely original, stupid name for your zombies. I know you can't necessarily call them zombies. Don't know what the deal is with the licensing of the word zombies right now, but Freakers. Every time you say it, it sounds stupid. Plus, you did get Days Gone on PC. Mods look very promising, and you played it for like 5 hours on the PlayStation 4. Days Gone is the only platinum that you got. I don't do platinums. I'm not sure if I've got any. I might have 1 or 2 by accident. But that presumably means that you actually really enjoyed the game. Gaming with Passion, it had some interesting games. You really like it. Give me your top 2 or 3. Either your head hurts and you sorted your stupid weird. Good. Not good that your head hurts. I'm not an arsehole, but good that you sorted what you needed to sort. Twitches, yeah, but Chronic, I changed it, you know. Kratos, any games that I purchased from Hype Online or friends that I regretted getting? Same goes to chat. This is going to be controversial, Kratos. Should I even say it out loud? Bloodborne. Bloodborne is my answer. Bloodborne I bought through sheer force of FOMO. Having not really played, well, I had never played a Souls game at that point. And I didn't like it when I got it. So I don't regret that I got it, but I regret that I got it at full price because I played Bloodborne and the frame pacing on that game was a killer for me. I love the atmosphere of it. Spinning a camera was like genuinely unpleasant in that game. Which is why now that I've played a lot more kind of Souls content since then and understand the vibe and pacing of it a lot more and really want to play Bloodborne, but I don't want to play the PlayStation 4 version of Bloodborne because I found it unpleasant. I know, Chronic, I know that Bloodborne has a fan base of a sort that will not accept that answer. Kratos, you only put under an hour into it, so I put a similar amount of time and died at a fireplace. I played a tiny bit more Bloodborne deliberately because Gaz used to be like, oh, it's too difficult for you, you haven't even done the first boss. So I went and did the first boss just to prove a point that I hadn't stopped through difficulty. But it's just it had and it's not just me, like it is established fact that the frame pacing was broken in that game. It was a 30 frames per second game, but it delivered the frames in the wrong order and they never fixed it. So the frames would be like 1243, 1243, 1243, 1243, and as you spun the camera it just had a nasty, like it was janky as 30 is, but it also had a little micro stutter in it at that kind of frequency, and it was just not nice. Bloodborne Heresy. Well, Replicant, I mean, but I'm right about the frame rate though, aren't I? And I say this from what I have seen of Bloodborne, I understand why people love it so much. And I want to be able to love it so much. But I was where people are getting now. You look around Twitter at the moment and you see all of these mostly Xbox people moving to PC because suddenly they're saying that these consoles are a letdown and they can't understand or play 30 frames per second anymore. Back in those days, that was me. I was like not a fan of 30 frames per second, and you give me a broken 30 frames per second, it was unpleasant. Now I regret that I haven't finished it. I should have played it for like 10 hours straight until I adjusted to the motion and then tried to like get the good part out of it, because I'm not denying that there's a brilliant game under there. I just always wished that they would fix that somewhere. See, you love it as well, Tom. I'm glad. I wish that I could. And I reckon if they did a PC version or a PS5 version, like a remake of any kind, then I would be able to love it like you do. Right. There's something else as well. I usually end up, if I fall into FOMO and buy something that I didn't expect to enjoy, it usually turns out that I don't enjoy it. But I can't think of another one right now. So, next question, please. Chronic, they've lost the password. So Bloodborne was made by From Software and Sony's Japan studio, and they shut down the Japan studio, but someone from that Japan studio had the password to all of the Bloodborne source code. And Sony have been phoning them every week since it came out, asking for the password. They need to get the source code so they can port the game. And he's like, no, shouldn't have shut down the studio. So we're never getting it until they remake it from the ground up. Alex, oh no, Alex has asked, if Isla gets a Ubisoft subscription, can she play Skull and Bones with us? How many players can play? She cannot, no. I don't know how many players can play. It's supposed to be an MMORPG, so presumably loads of people can all play at once. Next question, please. That's it, we ran out. Barrier Japan. Classic Japanese name Barry from Sony Japan. Got the password. Barry unfortunately doesn't speak Japanese, so he's just been getting these nuisance calls from Sony Japan, desperate to get the password. Could be, Tom, could be. You're embellishing my version of the story a little with that, or I am. I don't know, one of us is. Uh-oh, I think Isla's fallen out with Alex. Can only imagine that's what she's saying there. And we've run out of questions, so somehow we almost hit the 2 hours anyway. Wasn't particularly my intention, but is what it is. Tomorrow we've got the Xbox Series podcast. Gamsy's not around tomorrow, so Darge is filling in. So I've got Darge and Deadly Headley, but that should be a good time. That's at 8 o'clock, so if you can be there, then please do. And there'll presumably be some kind of stream or other content in the day, but I haven't got that properly planned out yet. And then Friday we'll have some things, and Saturday we'll have some things, and Sunday we'll have some things. Saturday and Sunday should both have community games. That's what I've got lined up. That's the plan. And I'll obviously clarify and be more specific on Discord in the coming days. So thank you everyone for coming along and chatting to me, chatting to each other, getting through this conversational show. If you're watching it after the fact, I hope you've had a good time as well. Helldivers, Alex, Helldivers is still on the list. Chronic, you left Gamsey a nice gif and he ignored you, mean little potato. He's very busy moving house and stuff, but yeah. New update for Helldivers dropped today. Yes, it is. Harass me to stream. Harassment's always encouraged. And good night, everyone.
Asa. Game on Daily.